The grand chandelier of the Sterling Hotel ballroom glistened like a waterfall of diamonds, each crystal drop catching the golden light and scattering it across the glossy marble floor. Beneath its opulent glow, a table longer than some New York apartment stretched toward the center of the room, its polished mahogany surface set with water pitchers, porcelain coffee cups, and neatly stacked folders embossed with the golden Voss logo. It was the kind of room designed to intimidate, meant for the deals where billions changed hands and where one handshake could reshape industries. At the head of the table sat Alexander Voss. 34 years old, self-made, and famously ruthless, he had a reputation for walking into a boardroom and leaving with everything he wanted. Today, however, he wasn't feeling invincible. His deep blue suit, custom-tailored in Milan, fit him perfectly, but his tie felt like it was strangling him. The stakes were higher than usual, and for once, he could feel the weight of the odds leaning against him. Across from him sat Sheikh Khalid al-Hamdan, a man whose influence reached far beyond his oil empire. He was the gatekeeper to the Middle East's fastest-growing technology markets. One word from him could open those gates wide, or slam them shut for good. He wore traditional white robes, the folds sharp and pristine, and the white gutra over his head was held in place by a black agal. His dark eyes studied Alexander with a calm that was almost unnerving, as if he could see straight through him. The problem was simple, and devastating. The translator hadn't shown up. Alexander checked the time again. 5 minutes late. 10. His pulse ticked in sync with the seconds. The plan had been airtight. Amir, his trusted Arabic translator, was to arrive early, brief them both on cultural nuances, and ensure that not a single misinterpreted word derailed months of negotiation. Instead, Amir's chair sat empty like a mocking reminder that even billion-dollar deals could be undone by something as small as one missing person. His assistant, Jenna, leaned toward him, her voice low but urgent. "Sir, Amir's phone is off. I've tried calling 10 times. Alexander's jaw tightened. "Find someone. Anyone. There has to be someone in this hotel who speaks Arabic." She hesitated. "Not in the next 5 minutes, sir." And, she glanced nervously at the sheik. "His aide just said that if we can't begin soon, he'll have to leave for another engagement." Alexander swore under his breath. This deal wasn't just about profit, it was about positioning. In the next year, his tech conglomerate would be rolling out AI-driven infrastructure across several continents. The Middle East was the jewel in that crown. Lose this, and his competitors, ravenous wolves all, would pounce. Sheikh Khalid exchanged a few quiet words with his advisor in Arabic. Alexander caught none of it, but the sheik's tone was unmistakably firm. Without translation, Alexander was blind in this conversation. Every nuance, every subtle shift in tone would pass him by. His empire depended on precision. Guesswork would destroy him. He thought briefly about pulling out his phone, using a translation app. Ridiculous. This was not some tourist haggling for spices in a souk, this was a negotiation worth more than small nations' annual budgets. Misinterpret a single legal term, and the contract would be worthless. He imagined the headlines: "Billionaire fumbles landmark deal due to language barrier." His shareholders would tear him apart. And then, a sound. A voice. It came from the far end of the room, clear, fluid, and unhurried. The words rolled in perfect, eloquent Arabic, the kind that carried not just fluency but familiarity with its subtleties. Heads turned toward the source. It was Aisha. Until that moment, she had been nearly invisible, moving quietly around the room, pouring coffee, replacing empty water glasses, clearing used dishes from the earlier breakfast service. Her uniform, a simple black dress with a crisp white apron, blended into the hotel's service staff like a shadow among shadows. She had been here when Alexander arrived, offering a polite nod before disappearing into her duties. Now, her presence filled the space. Sheikh Khalid's eyes lit up with recognition at her words. His face softened into a smile, a genuine one, and he responded in warm, flowing Arabic that Alexander couldn't hope to follow. The two exchanged a brief series of phrases, their tones respectful but animated. Whatever she had said, it had struck the right chord. Alexander blinked. "You speak Arabic?" His voice carried more astonishment than he intended. She turned to him, her expression calm, almost serene. "Yes, sir," she said in perfect, lightly accented English. "I grew up in Morocco before moving here. I speak Arabic, French, and English fluently." For a moment, Alexander simply stared. It was as if someone had just thrown him a life preserver in the middle of a storm. Without hesitation, he said, "Then you're hired. At least for the next hour." Aisha's lips curved into the faintest smile. "I'll do my best." She moved closer to the table, standing just behind and to the side of Alexander's chair, and began translating each of the sheikh's words with precision and poise. Not once did she hesitate, mispronounce, or stumble over a technical term. She even modulated her tone to match the sheikh's, a subtle sign of deep cultural understanding. But it wasn't just her fluency that caught Alexander's attention, it was the way she listened. She didn't just translate words, she translated meaning. When the sheikh made a gentle joke about Western business impatience, she rendered it with a small smile in her voice, softening what could have been a sharp edge. When Alexander responded with a firm statement about his company's commitment, she carried his conviction without making it sound aggressive. It was artistry. As the conversation flowed, Alexander found himself studying her in the brief moments when she wasn't speaking. Her posture was impeccable, not stiff, but assured. Her dark skin glowed under the warm lights, her high cheekbones casting delicate shadows. There was intelligence in her eyes, but also something else. A depth. As if she had seen far more of the world than her current position suggested. Sheikh Khalid was clearly intrigued by her as well. At one point, he paused mid-sentence to ask her a question in Arabic, unrelated to the contract. She answered briefly, and whatever she said made him chuckle. Alexander, unable to follow, felt a strange twinge. Part curiosity, part something else. By the time the first round of negotiations ended, the air in the room had shifted. What had begun as a potential disaster was now alive with possibility. Sheikh Khalid's tone had warmed, the rigid formality was easing into something more personal. When the sheikh finally rose to leave, he clasped Alexander's hand firmly and said, in English this time, "We continue tomorrow. Bring the same translator." His smile was genuine. After the entourage departed, Alexander turned to Aisha. "Where did you learn to translate like that?" he asked, his voice measured. Her gaze flickered briefly, and for the first time, she hesitated. "It's a long story, sir." "I have time," he replied. "Not today," she said softly, gathering her tray and turning toward the door. "But maybe, someday." And as Alexander watched her walk away, he realized something unsettling. He wasn't just curious about her skill. He wanted to know everything. What he didn't know was that Aisha's past wasn't just colorful, it was dangerous. And her sudden appearance in his world was not a coincidence.